Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today you can't eat pride. Now, I don't know if you know this about me, but I am not a prideful person. I very much realize that I am a ridiculous human being who makes a ton of mistakes, who is constantly in over his head, getting into situations that I shake my head at looking back, and I'm just like, how did I do that? How do I manage to get into such precarious or ridiculous situations on a daily basis? And unfortunately, I know some people who aren't like that. I know some people who are very prideful. You know, they're prideful of who their family are, how much money they have, the quality of life that they expect. And being around these people is kind of frustrating. I really don't understand how they live their lives. These people honestly are constantly cutting off their nose to spite their face. They're constantly living a way of life that just seems so difficult. This was really apparent recently when I went to Switzerland hiking with some friends, and we were on these gorgeous, amazing, beautiful hikes, and we look like trash. We are sweating, we are, panting and huffing, and we're getting, drenched in waterfall water, and we're having the best time. We're laughing our heads off. It's a wonder we didn't have an avalanche with all the laughter we were having. But every single person that we encountered was sullen. They looked upset. Some of them obviously had looked really dressed up, like they wanted some pretty pictures in front of the waterfalls. And they clearly didn't know what kind of hike this was. And, you could see all of these women in beautiful dresses, but they're just drenched and they're cold and they're just shaking. And they're so angry at their husband, who's also cold and angry and shaking. And we just thought, man, like, these people really came here with a specific aspiration or goal in mind, not necessarily to enjoy the beauty of the Alps, not necessarily to enjoy the connection with a loved one. They came for pictures and, posting statuses and things like that. And when they didn't get it, they were incredibly frustrated. And this got me thinking about pride and sort of how we try and show ourselves on social media, and we try and present this perfect image and this money and things like that. The weekend before that, I had the opportunity to go to some of the opening days of the Grand Prix in Monaco, Formula One racing. And the tickets were like 30 euros, which, as far as I'm concerned, is very expensive. But the last day was like 1,000 euros. We were not going to that. But we went to these events, and the vast majority of people that came to them were people who were super dressed up. They wanted a picture drinking champagne in front of the race cars. And again, they all looked super miserable. And I think they were all doing this for like a very prideful, focused metric. And yet again, my friend and I had brought the sunscreen. We're not looking fantastic. We're not dressed up to the nines. It's Monaco. It's super, super hot. We're sitting in these bleachers. Buying a drink is like 15 euros for a can of Coke. It was insane. And we were just laughing at all of these like wannabe rich people or whoever they were, and how upset and annoyed they were. They would smile for the photo, and that would be it. After that, it was, can we go home? I'm done with this. And my friends and I were just kind of taken aback by this. And it's taken all of this time hiking through Switzerland, enjoying all of this stuff, to realize that this pride has really gotten in the way of how we live our lives and how we can actually enjoy them. I'm really fortunate that my parents raised me so humbly, and, the idea of spending a ton of money on first class tickets to this place or bougie hotels or whatever. Like, we were staying in hostels and, really like backpacking and exploring and just having the best time ever. I think the photos turned out great. I'm posting them, I'm not wearing Louis Vuitton or any of that stuff, but it was honestly one of the best trips of my life. And it got me thinking about how you cannot eat pride. You cannot enjoy pride. It's a symbol, it's a status, it's a reputation. It is this thing that is intangible, and in all honesty, it is completely out of your control. I recently heard this thing that I really like. You might have heard it, but it's reputation takes a lifetime to build and you can lose it in just one day. Now, this isn't an excuse to act disreputable and to act like a jerk because it doesn't matter if you could lose it in one day. But it is advice to not focus on the pride, the glory, the look, the aesthetic. It's kind of past that. You need to just appreciate things because you like them. You know, if you love the whole cottagecore or farmhouse core house decor, that's great. You go for it. But if you're doing it to try and fill an aesthetic because you think it would look good, not because you want your house to look like that, you might be focusing far too much on pride than actual enjoyment of life. And at the end of the day, we all go. We all leave this earth off to wherever you believe we might go. You can take absolutely nothing with you. If you have a certain religious belief, maybe you can take your memories or your loved ones or things like that. But the material stuff does not go. In every single religion, that's pretty adamant, you know, unless you're like an Egyptian pharaoh and you believe that your little pyramid thing is gonna, you know, go with you, and fair dues if you are, apologies. But for the vast majority of us living in 2025 in the age of social media, it's a pretty common belief that the material possessions that we have don't follow us. You know, our jobs here are to be upstanding human beings, to love, to experience, to try all of the crazy food and locations in the world, and to really make a good go of it. And I don't believe you can make a good go of life if you are constantly worrying and fretting over your reputation and your pride and your sense of self-worth and integrity. You know, these are things that are nice in a small degree. You know, it's kind of nice to walk into a place and, oh yes, he's the heir of Abercrombie and Fitch or whatever it is. But there is this bigger aspect to it that involves truly loving what you do, truly enjoying where you go and the things that you see and experience. And from my personal experience in the last 2 weeks, I don't think people that focus on the pictures and the social media aspect of it and making sure their hair looks good, those are not aspects that you're really going to enjoy or remember.